Good morning. Welcome to What's Cooking in Lakeville. Today we're starting out at our local farm, Elliott Farm, right here on Main Street. And I was so excited to bring you guys here today because this is where I love to shop 3 out of 4 seasons of the year, spring, summer, and fall. I'm going to shop for the dishes that we're going to be making today, and we're going to start off with, right here, some onions. So I need a red onion and a yellow onion, and some of these beautiful red potatoes. And when you're picking out potatoes, you want to make sure they feel pretty firm. So I'm going to choose probably like 4 or 5 of these. And I won't use all of these today, but I definitely will use them within the next day or 2 because my kids love these. I'm always looking for new ways to use zucchini because they're so abundant in this season. So I have a really good way to show you. And a yellow squash. Let's see what else. Definitely going to grab some corn. Elliott's is famous for their corn. It's the best. And it's beautiful if you take a look. Beautiful, bright yellow and white kernels. It's so good. And I'm going to go with the cherry tomatoes because I like the flavor. And I like how they work in the dish that I'm going to prepare for you guys. Some tomatoes and, oh, this too. A bag of basil. And I can't resist grabbing a couple of these beautiful sunflowers to bring home to put on my windowsill. I like to choose different sizes when I choose them because I think they look pretty together in the vase. I think that'll be gorgeous on my windowsill. We're back at my house, just getting back from Elliott Farm, and I've unpacked all the beautiful produce that we just picked up. And I thought it would be fun to show you guys how I just kind of put together a flower arrangement, super simple, but there's just a couple of little tricks that help make the flowers last a little bit longer, and it's as basic as how you cut the flowers. So basically what you do is you need a good pair of clippers, or if you have a flower knife, you could use that as well, but I'm just going to use a really good pair of kitchen shears right now. You're going to want to measure your flower about how high you want it to be. So I want mine about this high. I'm going to take off about this much. You cut your flower at an angle on the stem and then make a couple little slits that allow for the water to get in. Okay. I'm just going to put this on my windowsill. What I have here is some of the ingredients that we bought at the farm stand today, and I want to show you how to use farm stand ingredients. This is my favorite season of the year. I love going to the farm every day, looking what they have, and just kind of picking things up, bringing them home, and trying new things with them. So this dish came about because I was bringing home zucchini every single day, and my family was getting so sick of what I was cooking with. I was just doing it on the grill, grilled, or in a foil packet, sauteed. One day I looked at my vegetable bowl and I said, I have potatoes, onions, zucchini, and summer squash. I wonder what I can do with that. Let's try it baked. So I came up with what I like to call my farm stand gratin, and it's basically all these 4 ingredients, some cheese, some olive oil, some salt and pepper, baked in an oven until they all meld together and become ooey gooey and delicious. So let's get going. First thing you're going to do is add a little bit of olive oil onto the bottom of a casserole dish. Just a little sprinkle so that the first layer doesn't stick. So just a little drizzle. And I'm just going to spread this around. And we're going to slice first. I think we're going to start with a layer of potato. And what a gratin is, it's basically layers of vegetables all put together in a casserole dish, traditionally with some cream and some cheese, baked in the oven until they all meld together. I cut out the cream. I only use a little bit of cheese, so it's a little bit of a healthier version. This is kind of my version of a gratin. The first thing we're going to do is layer the potatoes on the bottom of the casserole dish. And in the meantime, I've preheated the oven to 425 degrees. You want a really hot oven for this. So the first layer is a layer of these beautiful red potatoes we just picked up at the farm. What I like to do in between each layer is sprinkle the layers with salt and pepper, a little drizzle of olive oil, and a little grate of extra sharp cheddar cheese. And the cheese I have here today is just one you can find in your grocery store, but I really like a Vermont sharp cheddar. It just has a really delicious flavor. So I'm gonna sprinkle a little salt and pepper on the potatoes, drizzle it with some olive oil, and give a grate of cheese. Now you can absolutely buy the already shredded cheddar. I just happen to have this in my fridge, so that's what I'm using. You can also use Parmesan cheese in this, and that tastes really, really good as well. The next layer we're going to do is zucchini, and we want to try to slice the zucchini, the potatoes, the summer squash, and the onions all fairly uniform so that they cook, man overboard, at the same rate. I'm going to slice the whole zucchini. The whole zucchini isn't going to fit in the first layer, but we're going to stack this up. Layer it in. You can overlap them a little bit if you'd like. Another little grate of cheese, and it doesn't have to be a lot, just enough so that you get some flavor. Sprinkle of salt and pepper. Drizzle of olive oil. Next, I'm going to do some onion, and I'm going to slice about half this onion because it's huge. Typically, I'd use a small yellow onion, but if you have a red onion, you can use a red onion as well. I just like the flavor of the yellow onion. It's a little bit more pungent against these this squash has a really sweet flavor already, so I like the little bit more pungent flavor of the yellow onion. So I'm just going to cut this in half. I'm going to slice the onion actually fairly thin, and I'm going to sprinkle it in between the layers as I go. That carries that yummy flavor throughout the entire farm stand gratin. I'm using my compost bowl. You probably noticed. I hope you're trying compost at home. It's a super fun, super easy activity to engage your whole family in. Okay, so these are really thin slices, like little half moons. I'm just going to sprinkle these throughout. You don't want too much onion because you don't want that flavor to overpower the dish, but it does give a really yummy, savory, pungent quality to the dish. Okay, next, I think I'm going to do a little more potato next, and we're going to use the small one because this casserole dish is already halfway full. Take off the end. Slice another one of these red potatoes. Elliott Farm has the best produce in town, I swear. It's just always so fresh. They work so hard over there. It's you can just tell that they love what they do, and it's very inspiring to see them kind of bringing the farm, you know, into more modern ways of doing business. They have a CSA this year, and they have a Facebook page, so you can go on and look, catch up with them. They'll post recipes and just different types of things, and it's really exciting for Lakeville to be able to have that in town. You can obviously adjust this if you want something bigger, but this is a size that would feed our family of 4, and this is a dish that my children go crazy for. Every time I make it, they call it the cheesy potato dish, and they just love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. I'm going to slice up this squash. I think we only have room for maybe another 2 layers. And as this cooks, it'll cook down some, and it'll become more compact, so you can pile it up a little bit. This is an easy way to use zucchini, summer squash, potatoes, onions that are in abundance at the farm stand, or you may have them in abundance in your garden as well. I mean, it's just a different type of side dish to put on the table. And that's what today is kind of all about, different ways to use vegetables that you see a lot in the summer. And kind of, oops, I almost forgot the olive oil. Get your family excited about them in a different way. And then the last layer I like to do is a potato layer because they crunch up nice on the top. So I'm going to try to slice these really pretty thin so I have enough to go around. When it gets to this when it gets wobbly like this, we want to turn it on its side, and then you have a much more stable surface to slice. Okay, I think I should have enough. Okay, looks just about perfect. All right, so we're going to top this off with another dash of salt and pepper. You want to carry the seasoning all the way through. A good grate of cheese, because before we take this out of the oven, we're going to throw the oven on broil for a couple minutes and get the top really crunchy and golden brown and delicious, so you want to have a good amount of cheese on there. And then I'm going to do a good drizzle of olive oil on the top as well, because that will also help everything brown up really good. Okay. All right, that looks pretty good. My olive oil. And then I'm going to cover this with some aluminum foil to put it in the oven to help keep in the steam for the first part of the baking, because that will help everything cook and become soft a little bit faster. And then right at the end, we'll pull the foil off and we'll broil it. And in it goes. Now that we have the farm stand gratin in the oven, we're going to start in on our family's all-time favorite summer side. I mean, and we even eat it like year-round when tomatoes aren't necessarily in season. I just buy them at the grocery store and make this for our family because we love it. So it's a panzanella salad, and what that is just a bread salad. And the way that we make it is kind of a combination of a caprese salad, which is tomato, mozzarella, and basil, and a panzanella salad. So we bring the tomato, mozzarella, and basil together with the bread and a balsamic vinaigrette. It's so, so good, just alongside a piece of grilled chicken, or in the fall alongside a roasted chicken, or a piece of fish, some grilled shrimp, or anything like that. It's just a really, really, really good side. Okay, so what we're going to start off with is a loaf of ciabatta bread, and we're going to slice this into cubes, and I'm going to use about half of this loaf. We're going to toast it up in the oven for a few minutes, maybe 6 or 7 minutes at the absolute most, with some olive oil and salt and pepper. And you can get a good loaf of ciabatta bread right at the bakery, at the local grocery store, or any bakery, any of like your local smaller bakeries. I like to use a ciabatta bread because it's pretty chewy and it toasts up nice and crunchy, which you're going to want for the salad because you want the bread to hold up to the dressing. So we're just going to cube this up. Throw it on a baking sheet. You want decent sized cubes. This is always a crowd pleaser too when you bring it to like a cookout or a party. The only thing I would say if you're going to do that is to wait until you get to wherever you're going to toss the salad together, because you don't want the bread to become soggy. So this looks pretty good in terms of an amount of bread cubes for what we're going to do today. If I was going to do this for my family because we love it so much, I would use this whole loaf of bread, because of course the croutons in this is everyone's favorite part. But okay, so we're going to hit this with a good amount of olive oil, which is going to help it brown in the oven. Okay, and some salt, which just gives it a little bit of flavor. I'm going to mix this together with our clean hands. Get it all coated. Oops. I like to make sure that they're all kind of lying on their sides so they get a good toast on them. I can already smell that farm stand gratin going. The rest of the ingredients for the panzanella salad are, like I said before, traditional ingredients of a caprese salad, which are tomato, mozzarella, cheese, and basil. And the first thing we're going to do, what I like to do with all dressed types of salads, is make the vinaigrette in the bottom of the bowl. And we're going to make just a traditional balsamic vinaigrette. I'm going to start with some salt and pepper. I hope you guys are starting to understand and get the hang of this vinaigrette thing. I think it's one of the easiest ways to take your cooking from good to awesome, to make a homemade dressing or vinaigrette. People are so impressed by it, and it's so easy. So if there's one thing that you can do, I think learning how to make a vinaigrette is one of the best choices. Salt and pepper, a squirt of Dijon mustard, some of our favorite balsamic vinegar from Tutto Italiano again. I like to make a good amount of dressing in this because the bread soaks up a lot of it, which you want it to do. That's what makes it so good. All right, I'm going to whisk these together and then slowly drizzle in olive oil until it's at the consistency that I want it to be. Like I said, I think I've told you before, I like mine to be about half and half oil to vinegar because I just like a little bit more of a tangy dressing. So I have a good amount of dressing in there. I'm going to slice these beautiful tomatoes that we just picked up this morning, and we're going to put them in, and then we're going to pile the rest of the ingredients on top of them. And I'm just going to slice them in half because these are pretty big cherry tomatoes. If they were tiny, you wouldn't have to. And you can use this with, you can do this salad with any type of tomato that you want. That one was really big, so I'm going to do that one in quarters. I like it with the beefsteak tomatoes. I like it with the little sun gold tomatoes that I have in my garden. Any type of tomato is really, really good. Okay, those look so yummy. Next, on top, we're going to pile chunks of my kids' absolute favorite ingredient in the world, mozzarella cheese. So we're just going to chunk it. I'm going to slice it up into slices, and then we're going to turn it on its side and create little chunks. And pile it up. Do a couple at a time. Bite size. You want everything to be pretty bite size. Pile it right on top of the tomatoes. And then the last ingredient is basil. It's beautiful fresh basil that I've just kind of rinsed off and set in between 2 paper towels to dry. I like a lot of basil in this salad. I love the color combination of the red and white and the green. And I love the flavor that it adds as well. All right, that looks good. I'm just gonna chop off this little rough stem right there. Add it to my compost, and I'm going to take these leaves and roll them up in a little ball. Well, in a little tube, I should say. Not a ball. And then slice down the side to create little ribbons of basil. I'm going to sprinkle this on top. And we're going to let this all hang out until the bread is done in the oven. While the bread finishes up in the oven, we're going to get started on our next side dish. And this I love to do in the middle of the summer when we've had corn every night in a row boiled on the stovetop for like 2 weeks, because we can't get enough of the corn because it's so delicious. But sometimes my husband and I are like, okay, we want to try it a different way. And it's fun for the kids too to be able to try a different flavor. So this is sauteed corn, and I just like to do it with a little bit of sweet red onion, and at the end I like to throw in a bunch of fresh chopped herbs. We're going to use about half of this red onion, and I'm going to chop this up in a pretty fine dice, and I can show you how to do that fairly easily. I like to cut them in half. flip them on the flat side, peel off the skin, and then do long, thin slices this way. The nice stable surface. And then I turn it to the side and I do thin slices the other way. And it gives you a nice small dice. Let me get my saute pan going with a little bit of olive oil. A couple twirls around the pan should do it. And I'm going to add the onion in and get them started to sweat down, which basically just means to release their water and some of their flavor. Once I hear that starting to go, I'm going to hit it with some salt and pepper, and that'll start to even draw the water out even a little bit more. I wish there was a trick that actually worked that would stop you from crying when you cut onions. I haven't found it yet. Okay, so the next step is going to be to take the corn off the cob. And we've done this before, but I'll show you again how we do it. We need a stable surface on the bottom. So I'm going to trim off just that little piece of the corn husk and the stalk. You take your knife and you just run it down the edge of the corn cob. And the kernels should hopefully stay mostly on your board. Some of them will fly away, but I'm going to make a nice little pile of them. I have 4 cobs of corn here. You can do this with any amount that you really want. Okay, let's see, make sure I get them all, even on the top. I like to do this with butter and sugar corn, but you can also do this with the beautiful Silver Queen corn that you can find sometimes a little bit later in the season. All these recipes came about because I just decided to experiment with some ingredients that we use all the time. And that's one of the awesome things about cooking, is you know what you like the taste of. So just make that, cook that, use ingredients that you love and try to put them together in new and different ways. And you'd be surprised that more often than not, it's gonna be successful. There's nothing about cooking that's, you know, all that complicated. It doesn't have to be fancy. You don't have to know technique. Just put together flavors that you love and you're more than likely gonna have some success. Okay, so I'm gonna put these in this bowl. Put them aside until we're ready for them. I'm just gonna take a peek at the bread before we move on to the rest of the sauteed corn dish. Oh, it's beautiful. Okay, so this is exactly how you want it. Nice and golden and toasted. If I flip it over, you can see it's toasted and it's hard. You want it to be really, really crunchy. So I'm gonna put this bread right up here to cool before we mix it in with the rest of the panzanella ingredients, because you don't want to put the hot bread on top of the mozzarella cheese because it'll just become an ooey gooey mess. So we're just gonna let this cool down right over here. In the meantime, I see our onions are starting to go, so I'm going to hit this with some salt and pepper and let them continue to wilt down a little bit. And as they cook, they'll become sweet and they'll release their flavors. They're yummy, yummy. Okay. Just a quick little stir. I'm going to turn down the heat so it doesn't get too hot. While those finish up, I'm just going to chop up the herbs that are going to finish this dish. We're going to again use a little bit of this basil. I'm going to add a couple other herbs as well. Okay. And really you can use whatever herbs you like or whatever you have on hand. I happen to have some mint and some parsley as well. So we'll use some of that. Let's see. We'll just rip off a handful. And the mint can be a little bit strong, so we just want a couple of mint leaves. But I just like it because it adds a really fresh flavor. The onions sound like they're just about ready for the corn. So before I chop this, I'm gonna run over and toss the corn in. Okay. And now this corn's just gonna need a couple minutes to saute with the onions. Throw it in, give it a stir, let it cook for a short amount of time. Okay, we're just gonna pile them up in a big bunch and give them a nice big rough chop. Again, like I was saying a few minutes ago, it doesn't have to be perfect or pretty. You just want it to taste good. So you're just going to want to run your knife back and forth through the herbs, kind of bringing them back into piles. Okay, put these aside. Give this another quick stir. I'm going to taste it for some seasoning because I just want to make sure it's salt and has enough salt and pepper in it. Corn is still crunchy. The onions are soft, so I'm going to just add in the herbs, shut off the heat, and put it in a bowl. How beautiful is this? Fresh, simple ingredients. I mean, it's corn, onions, herbs, olive oil, and salt and pepper. It's so good, and it's a stunner. So I'm just gonna, I love to serve food in white bowls. It shows up so nice. I'm gonna turn the oven on to broil now because I think that the gratin is probably ready to have the top cooked and browned up really nice. So let's give it a check. I can hear it all bubbling in there. So let's pull off the paper. And we'll throw it in to broil. Okay. I just turn it on, and it'll probably take a couple minutes. We'll just keep our eyes and ears and nose especially open. That's how I can always tell when something is done, when you can smell it. So these have cooled, the bread cubes have cooled at this point, and we're gonna bring them over and finish up our panzanella salad. And we're almost done, this is it. 3 really easy side dishes in not a lot of time. The next thing we're gonna do is just add the toasted bread, ciabatta bread, right on top of the tomato basil mozzarella, and we're gonna toss it. If you're gonna do this like for dinner, you probably wanna toss it together, I wanna say like 5 or 6 minutes before dinner, because it just gives everything a chance to come together, but not too much before that because you don't want it sogging out your bread. And I like to toss this pretty gently because you don't want the bread breaking up. I can hear my broil going off. I'm going to check that in a second. Make sure our gratin isn't burning. I want to make sure you get all the tomatoes from the bottom. Get a little bit of vinaigrette on all the bread cubes. This is so yummy. Okay, that looks good. And let's grab the gratin. This is perfect. See how all that cheese started to bubble up on the top and it's getting all delicious and brown? This is so yummy and it smells so delicious. You can see that the steam cooked the vegetables, and then what the broil did was really just crisp it up on top. You know what? The potatoes, the onion, the zucchini, and the yellow squash. It's formed like its own little sauce in there with the olive oil and the juices from all the vegetables and the cheese. Yummo. Some of the panzanella salad. Any of these sides too would be fine to bring to a cookout, or if you're having family over to your house. Even the corn, the sauteed corn, this could be served room temperature. It doesn't have to be done hot. So there we have it. 3 beautiful sides that you can make with ingredients found at your local farm stand or farmer's market. Something a little bit different, something for everyone, and I hope you try them and I hope you love them. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.